Hey, it's Matt Moscona. You found it. It's AFR Saints, your home for daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Please subscribe, smash the like button, hit the bell so you're notified whenever we post a new video. And our content this football season is presented by BetUS. Score a 150% bonus on your first deposit and a 125% bonus on your next two deposits up to $2,000 when you use the promo code YouTube150. Enjoy the video. Who dat? Saints have a new coach. They've hired Kellen Moore. It is official. We've known it for a couple of weeks now, but the Saints did, in fact, make it official with a press release on Tuesday. So now the process of Moore assembling a staff and building the roster and Mickey Loomis fixing the cap and all that stuff begins. And for us, it's a lot of discovery. What do we know about the new Saints head coach? Well, when his playing days as a Dallas Cowboy ended in 2017, the next year he joined that staff in 2018 as the quarterback's coach. He spent 5 years in Dallas. During those 5 years, our buddy David Helman covered Kellen Moore and the Dallas Cowboys, now with FOX Sports, covering the NFL and Dallas. David's good enough to join us for a couple of minutes here. Hey, man, good to see you, Nola, even briefly last week, man. Thanks for the time. How are you?
I'm good, man. Yeah, it was good to see y'all. What's going on?
Well, Saints hired a coach. So that's always interesting when this stuff happens in the NFL. You got to see a lot of Kellen Moore over his 5 years as a coach, and then prior to that, the 3 seasons as a player. Summarize Kellen Moore's time in Dallas.
Better than it got credit for, I would think, is how I would explain it. Which, full transparency. I mean, when he was in Dallas, I got accused of being a little bit of a Kellen Moore stan, I guess.
Okay.
But I've thought the guy was a good coach for his entire career. I mean, he retired from playing. He stepped right in as Cowboys quarterbacks coach. He was offensive coordinator shortly after that. He replaced Scott Linehan. And when Dak Prescott was healthy, the Cowboys were a top 5 offense for his entire tenure there. I mean, you could count on them to be top 5, top 10 in the important metrics. They were incredibly efficient. They were incredibly high scoring. I think Cowboy fans got frustrated because obviously the team hasn't had the postseason success, and they laid some stinkers in the playoffs. That's for damn sure. I don't think you put that all on Kellen Moore. I also think people accuse him of getting a little bit too cute. He likes a trick play now and then, and he likes to show things off. I think I'm not trying to compare them, but I think there are some similarities between him and Ben Johnson. Kellen Moore never got as much clout for being willing to break out the trick plays as Ben Johnson, but that's definitely part of his bag. And then when he left Dallas, the whole narrative was that he was unwilling to run the ball. He aired it out too much. Mike McCarthy wanted to get back to playing ground and pound physical football. Which is why I think it's really funny that Kellen just won a Super Bowl running the most run-heavy offense in the NFL. Clearly, I think he's a lot more adaptable than he got a lot of credit for. So that's my spiel. I think I love him. I love him as a guy, Kellen. If you're listening, I don't think you're a dork, but he looks a little dorky. He looks young. He doesn't look like a leader of men from a distance, and I think that's where a lot of the criticism comes from, honestly, is he doesn't look like an inspiring football coach, but the mind is there. The results are there. I mean, on top of just winning a Super Bowl with an elite offense, he's really been doing it most of the time that he's been calling an NFL offense.
We'll get right back to the video. Love telling you about our partners over at BetUS, and they've still got that amazing deal. You can get a 150% bonus on your first deposit, 125% on your next two deposits, up to $2,000 when you use the promo code YouTube150. The NFL season's over. Let's look at next year's Super Bowl. It's this easy because futures odds are there. Just go to BetUS. We'll tap football right there. On the drop down, we can check Super Bowl 60. So here's all the odds for teams to win Super Bowl 60 next year. No, I'm not crazy. I'm not wasting my money betting on the New Orleans Saints to win the Super Bowl next year, even though the Saints have plus 15,000 odds. But what is realistic? How about my team that I picked to win it this year that fell short, even though they had a quarterback with an MVP caliber season? The Cincinnati Bengals, plus 1,800. Might not get better odds than that. So that means $10 on the Bengals to win next year's Super Bowl would win me $180. That's worth a flyer at $10. We'll confirm it, and just like that, we are locked in at BetUS. Remember, make sure when you sign up, use the promo code YouTube150 to get a 150% bonus on your first deposit, 125% bonus on your next two deposits, up to $2,000. Now enjoy the video. Is he respected by the players?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely he is. And again, I don't think that the Saints just hired the Dan Campbell guy. Obviously, I think you're talking about a more cerebral type of football coach. I think the respect and the leadership comes from consistent on-field results. I don't think and to be clear, I guess I don't know this for sure. I've never been in a meeting room with Kellen, but I doubt Kellen is giving these very inspiring motivational speeches and some of that type of stuff. But the results speak for themselves. Dak Prescott loved him. He was only in Philly for a year, so I don't know how deep the bonds are with the Eagles. But again, you coach and call an offense that wins 10 games in a row, gets you to the Super Bowl, maximizes all of those big talents, AJ and Devontae, and obviously Saquon Barkley had a record-setting year. If you can keep all of those guys happy long enough to win a Super Bowl, I think it speaks to your qualifications. So even if he's not the most inspiring personality in the NFL, I think players respect the results that he gets.
He's on Twitter at David Helman _1L in Helman, by the way. Give him a follow. Fox Sports, covered the Cowboys. How many years were you in Dallas before you moved full-time, like big picture Fox?
I was with the Cowboys for a full 10. Yeah, okay. A decade.
So the whole time that Moore was there as a player and as a coach, you were there the whole time. Well, I guess not. Maybe the beginning of his time as a player.
Well, no, because he started in Detroit actually.
Right.
He was, So from the time he came over, I was there.
15.
I was there for his entire time in Dallas. I was there when they brought him on because Scott Linehan loved him. He followed Linehan over from Detroit. He was a player for a couple years. I was standing 20 feet away when Kellen broke his ankle in practice in training camp, which is what opened the door for Dak Prescott. So I'm pretty intimately familiar with his time in the NFL.
Yeah, 2015 was Kellen's first year as a player there in Dallas. Of course, that's when Dak jumped over after that. So I'm glad you brought up that Dak. I think you said Dak loves him. The three quarterbacks as an OC's worked with are all dramatically different. Dak Prescott, Justin Herbert, and then Jalen Hurts. David, share with me an observation, like when you hear that, what should, if anything, we make of that, of the different styles of quarterbacks that Kellen Moore's worked with, and the style of quarterback he was as a player?
Well, I kind of touched on it, but I think, and look, I mean, obviously the Saints have so many challenges in front of them. We don't know for sure who their quarterback is, or their cap situation is a nightmare. I'm not trying to sell you on hope that this is going to be good quickly, but I think you should be encouraged that Kellen Moore is, this is not the old school idea of like the coach that's going to come in and fit everything to the way he likes to do it, because Kellen Moore has had to adapt to a lot of different things. He was when it was Dallas, it was, he was putting Dak back there and letting Dak read it out, and he's got these, ties to Scott Linehan, which is very Air Coryell related, where you're just winging the ball around, and then you get to Philadelphia, where again, it's not to knock Jalen Hurts, but it's just a much different way of playing offense, where Jalen is twice the runner that Dak is, and you obviously have this incredibly physical running game. So to adapt yourself to the skill of your quarterback, I mean, I think that is the number one mark of a good coach, is adapting yourself to what you have instead of trying to make everything fit your system. So I don't have the numbers in front of me. I know when Dak was healthy, they were a top 5 offense, something like 4 out of 6 years. Chargers was a little bit of a downturn, but I mean, I think that was just a disaster organization-wide. I don't really put that on Kellen Moore. And then again, you get there with a very mobile quarterback and this fantastic offensive line, and you kind of reinvent yourself into a smash mouth football team that can also be very explosive. And I think that's another thing I would say is Kellen Moore loves explosive football. I mean, you saw him throwing the ball downfield up 30 points in a Super Bowl the other night. He's not afraid to do that. And if anything, his critics are probably going to say he gets too cute because he does like explosive football. He's looking and hunting for big plays. So, I think the track record speaks for itself, and I think it's encouraging that he's proven he can do it with a variety of different skill sets.
I got a couple of more for you, by the way. 6 years as a coordinator, their finish in total offense, 6th, 17th, that was 2020, 1st, 3rd, 21st the year in L.A., and then this year 8th in Philadelphia. So 4 top 8 finishes. Then the 1 year in L.A., they were 21st, and then the COVID year, they were 17th. So, yeah, a pretty good track record.
And I would point out, too, that, Kellen really should pay me for this, but one of the years that they were kind of mid was a year where they lost Dak in week 5. And, they finished middle of the pack on offense despite starting backup quarterbacks, 10 or 11 out of those games.
Oh, yeah. Cooper Rush. We're a big Cooper Rush show here, David. I'll fill you in on that later another time. How much of the offense in Dallas was Mike McCarthy? How much of it was Kellen Moore?
That's one of those things. I don't think you can truly know the answer to that, unless you're part of those meetings, unless you're truly on the inside of that. What I will say, I mean, Kellen had play calling autonomy for the first 2 years, or was it the first? He had play calling autonomy the whole time he was here with Mike. I lost track of how many years it was, and then that was what led to his exit in 2022. Was that Mike wanted play calling autonomy back? Mike wanted to have the final say and the design of the offense. And like I said, Mike he ruffled a lot of feathers. I think his exact quote was, Kellen wants to light up the scoreboard and I want to run the damn ball, which, like I said, it's ironic because I would agree with that general assessment of Kellen Moore. He's a former quarterback. He likes to wing the ball around the yard, but you put him on a team with a mobile quarterback and an all-pro running back, and they had something like 80 more rushing attempts than anybody else in the NFL this year. So even if that is what he would prefer to do, he's not so stubborn that he can't accept the personnel that he has. So, I guess what I would say is that Kellen had enough say that it frustrated Mike McCarthy enough that Kellen was ultimately let go, or they mutually parted ways, however you want to phrase it.
Okay, last thing, and your time very much appreciated. He's going to have to hire a staff. How much confidence should the Saints have in his ability to identify and hire a good staff?
I've said all this nice stuff about Kellen. I'm not trying to say that I don't think he can do it. I just don't know. He's never been in this situation. And again, that's like if being a head coach was only about drawing up an offense, I would be sky high on Kellen Moore. I think the things that give you pause are he's a young guy. So how good is his network? How good is his eye for developing talent? Because he's never really had to do this before. Not to say like he didn't work hard or anything, but he was fast tracked. He was an offensive coordinator his second or third year ever being a coach. He didn't climb through the college ranks or start as a quality control coach. And, Ben Johnson spent a decade on NFL staffs and in different buildings before he ever got his shot. Kellen has been in a few different buildings, but only as a play caller and as a high level coach. So how good is his network? How good is his eye? I'm curious to see, I would guess he's going to try to bring Doug Nussmeier along with him, which is very interesting given that Doug is Garrett's father. So that's a fun little parallel in Louisiana. So, yeah, how good is your network? How good is your eye? Is he going to dig into the college ranks? Is he going to be looking for young up-and-coming coaches? Or, as a younger guy who hasn't done this a whole lot, is he going to be looking to surround himself with veterans who have been doing this for a couple of decades? I would guess probably a balance of both. That's why I think Doug Nussmeier would be an incredible resource for him as a guy who has done this for a long time at a lot of different levels. I don't know how good of a job he's going to do, but between between his own coaching experience and the time that he's been in the game, and obviously what he did at Boise State, I think that he's going to have a pretty good network of options available to him.
Great perspective. David Helman, Fox Sports. Thanks for making time, man. We appreciate it.
Anytime, bud. Talk to you later.
Thanks so much for watching the video. Do us a favor, subscribe to the channel, smash that like button, hit the bell so you're notified when we post a new video, and remember to support BetUS, where right now you can get a 150% bonus on your first deposit and a 125% bonus on your next 2 deposits up to $2,000. Be sure to use that promo code YouTube150.